What's good, everybody, and welcome to I can't call this unparalleled sports talk because we're not going to talk about sports. So, just welcome to another podcast. He's Damon Furby, Smoke Freezy. I'm Kwame Fisher Jones, and this podcast normally we talk about sports, but this is going to be every Sunday. My brother and I are going to get together and just talk about the world that's around us, everything that's going on. We had a
But
presidential debate.
I know we're not going to talk about sports, but what's your take on the Sixers? They just
We're
signed Eric
not
Gordon.
going to talk sports. If I wanted to talk sports, you wouldn't want to talk sports. If I wanted to talk about the Sixers, you would ask me questions about Trump.
Well, they signed Eric Gordon. That's all I want to say. The guy's 30 something years old. That's all I want to say.
So we had the
I'm gonna leave it
presidential
alone.
debate. We had the presidential debate. And I guess, your usual suspects, Donald J. Trump on the Republican ticket, uh, Joe Biden, Joseph Biden on the Democratic ticket. Now, I watched the debate and I'll give my opinions on it after you. But, what's going on right now, man? Like, I don't know, man. What were your opinions of the debate? Like, just the highlights or whatever what did you take away from it? What did you take away from the debate?
Well, first of all, we got a giant douche and a turd sandwich as candidates. They're both really bad, and the worst of the two, in my opinion, is Trump easily. Joe Biden did not look good at all. He didn't look good. He didn't sound good.
He never looks good though, man.
But could you listen to a man that's all he's going to do is just lie to you the whole way?
That's what I want to get
Huh?
into. That's what I want to get into. That's what I want to get into. Yeah, it's go ahead and finish your point. I interrupted you.
No, man. Like I hear this stuff about Trump and Joe Biden. Joe Biden had a bad night, but I believe Joe Biden is a good man. Trump don't have that. Therefore, I'm going with the good man in order to be a president. And as far as I can tell, Joe Biden is getting the job done as old as he is and as old fragile as he is, but he's doing a lot of good things for the country.
You know,
Donald Trump is dividing the country more and more every day.
here's where I sit on this, man. This was a very difficult a decision for me. I voted in every presidential election going all the way back to Clinton's second term. I voted for George W. Bush over John Kerry. Uh, Obviously, I voted for Al Gore, but I know it's hard for me to, first of all, you're not going to take down Trump's light to make Joe Biden shine brighter for me. Like, I know what Donald Trump is. For me, I can never vote for a man that vocalized abusing women. When he made his comment about grabbing a woman, and she has to accept it, and then he was convicted of sexual abuse, for me, that's just too much. That's just for me. I can't co-sign that. I don't even like, for instance, their popular phrase for undershirts is people call them wife. And you know this, a lot of people don't, but you know this. I don't co-sign that phrase. I refuse to normalize domestic violence, okay, even in jest. Sexually abusing women are not cool for me. That's not something I do. It's not something I don't keep people around me that do that. So Trump is I'm not going to vote for Donald Trump.
I
And
could
this
have
is
said
going
that
to
first about
upset.
sexual abuse. I could
What's
have said
that?
that first. I could have said that first about the sexual abuse, but he's got, so much beyond that. But I could have led with the
But
sexual
the
abuse.
sexual abuse for me is what, because I'm not gonna, the thing about politicians do, you're not gonna agree with everything they do down the table. But if you have a commonality, like a common agreement on, for me, for President Obama's education, it was the fact that he stood strong in education. I didn't expect him to change the world, and I knew that a black president was going to galvanize some people, and it was going to ostracize other people. I know it was going to make America, it was going to pull a lot of things out of America. But my issue going back to Biden is you use the phrase lied to. It's summertime, right? I'm gonna bring it to you summertime. So this is something I used to say when I was on the radio all the time. I feel like all life's mysteries can be solved through The Wire, the HBO series The Wire. I feel like if you go through the 5 seasons of The Wire, every facet of life is addressed in that, from pride, gluttony, all those things. And using this example of presidential election, it's season. I want to say season 3. They just got done the Amsterdam experiment, right? And I'm going to get to it quickly. And Major Colvin is the person that tried to legalize drugs to put it in a certain area so he could do police work. And Mayor Carcetti is the white mayor that wants to run for a black city, predominantly black city.
The mayor, the white mayor.
Yeah, Colvin says to Carcetti, they're walking, and he just got done showing them all the good that putting everybody in Amsterdam did. And he says, you see that building over there? That's Old Man Stryker's funeral home. And that was before Jim Crow, before integration, and all they did was bury white people back when there were white people that live in Baltimore. And he said, once integration hit and Jim Crow fell, somebody said to Old Man Stryker, hey, you're going to bury black people now. And Stryker said, on one condition, if I can bury all black people at one time. And he laughed. And Carcetti's like, oh, that's despicable. That's disgusting. The white mayor candidate says disgusting. And the black Major Colvin looks at him and he kind of laughs and he says, I had a lot of respect for Stryker because I knew where he stood. I know where Biden stands. And what he pushes out is not where he stands, if that makes sense. What he says is never what he stands on. The true crime bills that he passed incarcerated so many young black men. The Supreme Court Justice, Madam Vice President, yes, he gave them positions that they've earned in life. He didn't do any favors. They earned those positions. But the commonality in both of those homes is there are no black men. Mayor Keisha Bottoms, when she was in Atlanta, for some reason they couldn't find a position for her in Biden's cabinet. Why is that? We don't know, but she has a black husband and she's got black sons. In Florida, Val, I can't remember her name, but her name's Val. She's in law enforcement. She didn't have any place.
Val Demings.
Thank you. She didn't have any place in Biden's cabinet either. Even though criminal justice reform is something that we need in this country, regardless if you've got friends that are family members that are police officers, or people we know we need criminal justice reform. We know that. He couldn't find any place for Val Demings. We don't know why, but what's the commonality there? Again, black man husband. Biden seems to stand on a side that devalues black men. And I know he was President Obama's vice president. And I wasn't there.
What about Ketanji Brown? She's a Supreme Court justice.
That's what I mentioned. Supreme Court justice, and Madam Vice President. They both earned their positions, but they're both married to white men. And I'm not looking down on them. I'm not looking down on them for that. But you eat different when it's your you go through life different when it's your sons and your husbands who are front line. Your stroll is different when it's close to home for the things that are affected. And Madam Vice President doesn't have any sons. Ketanji Brown doesn't have any sons. And, they're married to white men whose lives are different than mine.
I feel you, but to me, this is a moot point because is it Joe Biden or is it Donald Trump?
It's not, because I know where Donald Trump stands, and I don't like it, but I know who he is. I know where he is.
Everything he's going to do is lie to you, though. He doesn't ever. He's never truthful about it.
He's a liar. He really doesn't care. He's going to tell you whatever you want to hear. That's his thing. That's his
Right.
thing.
So I can't get down with him on that basis because if he's going to tell me anything, which that's what he's going to do, I don't have time for him.
Yeah,
You
but
know,
I don't, you
Joe
don't,
Biden,
go ahead.
Joe Biden with the bill back in the day,
True,
everybody
true.
wanted to do that. No, the
Crime bill.
what's that like the crime bill? Boom. Everybody wanted that. Not it wasn't just Joe Biden.
It wasn't so much
Then
everyone wanted it, and that's fair, but everyone isn't sitting at the table trying to be president. And all those people that he mentioned, all those people that you're saying everyone wanted to do it, the difference is those individuals are not standing here with nothing to show for building or rebuilding the communities that they tore apart.
mm,
You know,
mm,
and I don't want to take a personal shot at President Biden. I'm not trying to do that. I'm watching his son dodge prison time. Again, it's
he was
different,
convicted though.
yes, but he's been doing these things for a while, and he hasn't been in jail yet. And here you have a man that was the spearhead for putting a bill together that made sure there was excessive punishment for crimes similar to what is being done in this. But that's I want to come back. So I know
Right.
this is going to upset you and upset the ancestors when I say this, but watching the presidential election or watching the debate and
Yeah.
watching Biden underperform, watching him look older, watching him look
Frail.
inefficient, ineffective in stating his point,
Doddering.
incoherent at times, combined with what I know the handshake doesn't match the style or smile, combined with knowing that when given an opportunity, he has stepped over me and people that look like me time and time again, men that look like me time and time again. I'm going to vote down the ticket, but I'm not voting for either one of them dudes. And I hate to say that, but I'm not voting for
Mm,
either one of those dudes.
okay. Well, I say it's a choice of either or.
It's
Because
not.
if you're not voting for Joe Biden, you're basically voting for Trump.
If you're not voting for Trump, why are you not voting for Biden? Like, why is it always got to be fear mongering on one side of the aisle? Think about that. If I'm sitting the vote,
Well,
you're sitting the election out.
because you got one guy who really tried to take over democracy
Mm-hmm,
and tried to overthrow the government, in my
mm-hmm.
opinion. But I saw that happen, so it wasn't like I just made it up. That actually happened.
It did.
So I can't beyond the fact that he's essaying women and stuff. I don't want to get behind anybody that you know. Like I said, Joe Biden, he's got his issue with him too, and I believe in my head that the whole government is problematic because you got people on the Supreme Court that have lifetime sentences. I mean, lifetime
Appointments.
appointments,
Mm-hmm.
and
You
they
got
pretty
people in
much do
Senate,
whatever they want.
senators and Congress, same thing. So
Right.
how do you get that
Right.
change? How do you get that change?
La revolution. They
Not
things need to change.
necessarily. You get that change by forcing it. And you say by revolution, I
Revolution.
say this. Put it this way, for all the negative things that Donald Trump is, he's pulling neck and neck with President Biden. Why is that?
Because most of the people that like Trump are in a cult. They believe anything that he says,
But this
and
isn't
they
about.
love wearing
But this isn't
his
about
shirt
what
on.
this. But there's always somebody that supports the bad guy. There's always somebody. I mean,
Okay.
the devil was an angel,
And those are
like
them. They're
so.
them.
But okay, but I think it says more about Biden. Biden had 4 years to find a successor to his reign. Think about that.
I agree.
He had four
I
years to
agree.
find someone who was younger and ready to go. And whether he didn't want to, whether he probably didn't, they probably decided that was a bad choice to elevate Madam Vice President, and that's fine. That's fine. Whatever you sit there.
You know, they
They
make bad
couldn't
decisions
find
all the time.
somebody. They couldn't find somebody on the Democratic ticket who was ready to run for president. They couldn't find anybody. I bet you 10 will get you 20. They'll find somebody if Biden loses this election. 10 will get you 20. They'll put together a strategy if Biden loses this election. 10 will get you 20 that they will sit down and figure out where they failed and how to get things going and how they need to change their message if they lose this election. You know what they won't do? They won't change anything
That's
if they win
if
again.
they lose the election. They're not going to lose the election. I see this whole thing as just like a smoke and mirror type of situation because
And you might be
last
right.
time Biden came out, pretty much the same issues that he has now, and he still beat them. I don't believe that people want Trump. I mean, the
And that's
people that are
fine.
fanatical and love everything he's talking about, they're not going nowhere. But for the most part, I believe most people in the country that's going to vote is going to take the sensible way.
You can hope. Hope isn't a plan. But I'll tell you what I'm not going to do. I'm not going to waste my vote on a person I don't believe in. I'm not going to do that again. I'm not going to throw my vote away and say, oh, well, if I don't vote for him, then that's a vote for Trump. Because conversely, if I don't vote for Trump, then that could be a vote for Biden.
Well, my thing also, Jones, I'm really on the side of like leaning away from the whole political system because I believe it is like a lot of just smoke and mirrors type of like putting Joe Biden in. Like, the last time President Obama had the debate with Mitt Romney, the first one, it was really bad for Obama. And now fast forward to the other day, Joe Biden has a bad debate against Trump. What's going to happen is he's probably going to come out in the next one on point. So that's why I'm thinking like this whole thing is just made up. Like they're
Yeah, but
just
his track record still stands what it is. And the debate just confirmed other issues I had. For me, the overwhelming thing was his track record. And like I said, how he devalues black men. It just
hmm.
it's it's obvious. For me, it's obvious. Show me
But see, I don't know that.
someone.
I don't even know that about him devaluing black men. And if anybody's valuing black men, it's Trump. And I hate to go
Yeah, but
back and
Trump
forth.
doesn't hide them. Trump doesn't
Yes,
hide.
he
We know
does.
what Trump is. We know what
Yes, he
Donald
does.
Trump is.
Yes, he does.
What does Donald Trump hide about anything?
Well, he's going to lie about anything that he's going
But
to.
that's not hiding it. That's lying, and we know he's lying.
That is hiding. It's lying, and you're putting your hiding in a lie. It's the same thing.
I disagree. I feel like it's lying. You know he's lying. He's lying so his supporters can say whatever they want to say. But I don't spend
To
a lot
hide
of
the
time.
truth. He puts it in
I
a
don't spend
lie
a
to
lot of
hide the
time
truth.
dissecting Donald Trump. There's no reason to. I know what he is. You keep going
Yeah.
back to him as a way to prove Biden's a better candidate.
I know, and I hate to do that back and forth, but I'm just like, yeah, Biden has his issues, but I'm
If
thinking
Biden
about
was the
the
right
next man.
candidate, if Biden was the right candidate, then he would be the best candidate. Like, for instance, you mentioned President Obama and Mitt Romney. It wasn't about what Mitt Romney. It wasn't about Mitt Romney. It was about what President Obama was, what Mitt Romney was not. That's what this isn't. So go fast forward. This isn't about what Donald Trump is and what or Donald Trump is or isn't. This is strictly for me about who Donald Trump is and who President Biden is.
Mm.
It does, so it's. I don't need you to poo-poo Donald Trump. I know what Donald Trump is. He doesn't hide it to me. He can lie all he wants. We all know it's a lie.
Right.
He can stand in the middle of Arizona and say it's raining, it's raining, it's raining right now. We know it's not. We absolutely know
it's.
it's not.
Let me say this real quick because I don't believe it's necessarily Trump because he does what he does. It's the people that follow his stupid and are just so cultish by him and fanatical over the president, which is weird to
That's
me.
a
Like,
great point. I don't understand why people care. I really don't. I really don't.
I
I
don't
don't
either.
understand why people care. Like there are
Well,
always going to be. Go ahead.
because it's a grift. All those t-shirts and hats and flags and all that, he's getting paid off of that, and then he's going to keep doing that over and over again. And that's how he's making his money.
But who cares? Who cares? Like there's always going
Well,
to
I
be.
mean, I don't care for somebody paying for his merchandise may care because they think he's telling them the truth, but he's straight lying to them.
I can't get into their minds or their hearts, but there's always going to be somebody to play contrarian to a state. I use the analogy of Arizona, rain in Arizona. It could be 120 degrees. You can say it's hot out here. There's always going to be somebody to say, no, it's not. There's always going to be people that do that. Do we waste our time and energy arguing with people that we like? We know a dude that's got 90 some criminal indictments, that's been
Mm.
convicted of sexual abuse, that tried to participate in a coup of this country. Like we know
Mm.
what he is. Who cares what some whack off in in some state thinks? We know what
Well,
he is.
they give him credibility because they follow him, and
How do they give
he's
him
going to allow
credibility?
because he'll vote for him. There's a lot of them, and they'll vote for him to put it in the office. Therefore, he has credibility because he's got all these people behind him.
I think that, well, to your point, if Joe Biden spent more time being a better candidate, or if the Democratic ticket spent more time putting together a better candidate,
A
it
better
wouldn't
candidate.
matter. Would
I
you say?
agree. I agree. I
It wouldn't
agree.
matter. I think Trump plays into the inefficiencies and ineffectiveness of his opponent. Because when he
Mm.
was running
Yeah,
in
he
the
does.
Republican primary, Nikki Haley, I thought Nikki Haley had a chance. And then he got his teeth in her
Mm.
and it was a wrap. It was a wrap.
Mm.
You know what I mean?
Because
DeSantis.
his following is cultish. They're not coming off of Trump at all
But
for
it's not the
whatever reason.
following, it's the lack of
What has he done
opponents.
so? What has he done so good that makes him so cultish?
I will give him credit for this. He's highlighted the poor field of political candidates. That's what he's done a
He's a
fantastic
in
job.
that way he's a mad scientist because he's took it a hold of that whatever it is and he's
Well,
not
it's a
let
lack
go.
of quality candidates. It's a disassociation. He's connected. He's found a way to connect with a certain group of people that the other candidates on either side of the aisle can't find a way to do. People
I
will vote
agree.
against him because they're voting against him. They're not voting for the other person. I'm not going to do that anymore. I will vote
Right.
down a ticket, but I'm not giving my vote to Biden because I don't want to vote for Trump. That's not how this is going
But
to go anymore.
if you're a convicted felon and I know you can't have any job, how are you going to be a president if you're a convicted felon? So that
Here's the
should
thing,
eliminate.
and he's not convicted.
Yes, he is
He's
convicted.
charged. He's not a convicted felon. He hasn't been charged with any He hasn't been found guilty of any felonies.
That's
Not yet.
semantical. That's
It's not
semantical.
semantic. It's not semantics. You can't be a convicted felon if you're not convicted. Quickly, we
He
got
has
10
been
minutes left.
convicted.
So the Supreme Court on Friday, what was it? On June 28th, ruled that cities in California and the West may enforce laws restricting homeless encampments on sidewalks and
Mm,
other public property. The
mm.
justices ruled that it is not cruel and unusual punishment for city officials to forbid homeless people from sleeping on the streets or in parks. Now, I'm going to tell you this,
Mm,
and I'm going to share this with the world. I said there's a way to fix homelessness. Start locking it up. Start locking them up. Make it illegal
mm,
to be homeless. People say, well, what about the
mm,
people on drugs? If you're on drugs, you need help, you need assistance. We can determine that
mm.
once you're in jail. They're going to give you medication, and you probably need supervision with that medication. But even if you don't need supervision with that medication, if the threat is going to be you will be in jail, I think you have more people willing to take their meds. That's the first thing. The second thing is, if you're down on your luck, if you need help, things like that, we can find organizations and companies, organizations, and facilities to help you and assist you. We can run different programs. All right. That
Mm-hmm.
is that's a percentage of the people that are homeless. But there is a percentage of people in this world, in this city, and in this city, in these states, in this country that have embraced living off the land. There is a percentage of people in this world, like I see people with animals. How can you have a dog? How can you take care of a dog, but you can't take care of yourself? I have a serious issue with that. You can get up every morning and find a spot where you can get enough traffic to beg for money, but you can't get up every morning and go work a job. And it doesn't have to be the greatest
Mm.
job in the world, but something that leads to something else. Working at McDonald's is not supposed to make you a multimillionaire. It's supposed to give you the tools so you can become a manager. And then once you become a manager, then you make enough money to take care of yourself. But you don't walk in and make enough to become a millionaire or function. That's not how it works. And I am
Mm.
personally tired of watching people beg on the streets. I don't want to see
Oh,
someone living on a sidewalk or living in a parking lot. I don't want to pay for a
oh,
house and up the street. Yeah, people living under a bridge.
okay, you're saying that, but what happens when AI comes in and takes everybody's job? Everybody's going to be homeless.
Everybody's going to be
Not,
homeless.
not everybody, but a lot
Okay,
more people.
exactly.
The problem is going to grow bigger and bigger.
It's not going to grow bigger and bigger because you have to stop.
I hope not.
Well,
But I'm
even
saying
with
if
AI,
AI,
AI is going to, so even with AI is taking some jobs, but it's also creating other jobs. There's AI editors. I've applied for multiple AI editor positions where you
fair,
literally edit AI.
fair,
So
fair.
even anytime there's a computer program, there's got to be somebody to program the computer. That makes sense?
I agree, but it's less. It's not like one to
It's
one. Like
not
you got
less, it's not as many opportunities, but there's other opportunities out there.
it's
Put it this
it's
way.
probably
Put it this way. There are other opportunities out there. There may not be the ones that we're familiar with, or that are plentiful, but there's opportunities out there to take care of yourself. And it may not be the job you want, but
there's
it's the
always
job
a
you
job
need.
out there.
But let me ask you this. If living on the street is the option, you got to figure it
No,
out, my man.
you got to do something.
You got to figure it out. Because the fact of the matter
Something
is that can no longer be available to people. You cannot live off the land. Like, and if you
you
want to
can't
do
live
that,
off the land.
if you want to do that, then you need to go to cities, right? You need to go to places that are less populated. Take that to Montana. You don't want to go to Montana because why would you want to be homeless in Montana? Well, so I'm glad the Supreme Court did it. And I said, you start making it illegal, you start locking people up, we'll see less homeless people. It's the same thing going back to the 80s. Remember what New York and Philly was like back in the late 70s, early 80s? Remember they
Yeah.
had all those triple X theaters, you had all the homeless people, you had all the drug addicts. And then they got rid of the theaters and they started making loitering laws, and Biden came
Mm.
in with his drug penalties and they got rid of all those people. And there were a lot of innocent people that got caught up in the whirlwind. But the fact is, you had to get rid of those people, and you had to make laws to do that to make it less accessible and less desirable. And that's what you have going on right now. Cyclical. You have people right now that believe it's okay to be homeless. Like this is insane, man. This is insane. You go to the same Walmart, you see the same people begging for money every day. If they
I don't know
know
about
to
that.
do that, then they know they can go somewhere and get a job. They can't work at the car
Yeah,
wash.
I think it's more complex than that. Just that problem of
What's complex
homelessness.
about going out and getting a job?
It's more complex than that.
What's complex about it? Tell me. We got
Be,
4 minutes.
be,
What's complex
because
about
because you got a whole lot of people, a whole lot of homelessness, and each and every person is specific to their issue.
it? Mm-hmm.
So you have to be able to be flexible in anything that you want to
You
do
got to
about
find
that.
that issue. Just like you got a whole lot of poor people in the world. You got a whole lot of poor people in America. You got a whole lot of poor people in California. And everybody, we all got a story, B. We all got a story to say why we got where we got. But the difference is you have people who stay there. people who leave there, people who return there. So you got to
Mm.
figure out where you are in that where you are in that section. But the bottom line is, man, you can't like you cannot have people living on the street. Like this has to stop. It has to stop.
You
It
have a
has.
real bad homeless problem in California
It's
because I
insane.
have that too in Arizona, but I don't really see a whole lot of. I mean, if
It's
I was to go
insane.
downtown, it will be some cats and like there's a homeless
It
encampment
can't. Yeah.
downtown, which is a lot of crime is going on over there. And I feel bad because it's like 115 degrees outside. So I feel bad for
Quickly
them.
on real quick, from what I understand, and I had a conversation with a homeless person, and I had a conversation, people that work with the homeless. Is there a lot of time homeless people come out here because of the weather?
Mm. So you're just fully loaded up with a bunch of homeless people
Because
because
of the
it's
weather.
nice. You could sleep on the floor and not burn yourself.
Yep. It's insane, man. And yes, we all are dealing with different things, and I pray that I never run into a situation, but I've been homeless before.
Mm.
I've slept in cars before, and it
I
sucked.
ate, I ate from a trash can one time. That was the closest to homeless I ever
On
been. That
that note,
felt.
that is it for our Sunday. Was it Sunday Roundtable? Unparalleled Sports Special Edition Sunday Roundtable. That's what we'll call it. Sunday Roundtable. That's Smoke Freeze. I'm Kwame Fisher Jones. Until next time, we appreciate your time and your ear. You be easy.